Okay, so
once
you were at
once I
Sewanee,
hit college-
1950.
1950, I'd finished LSU and I was on the mountain, the Holy Mountain, Sewanee, at the School of Theology, St. Luke's School of Theology, at the University of the South, Sewanee, popularly known as Sewanee.
And who did the structure?
I didn't know it, but that stone building, I used to sit in front of stone bench in St. Luke's Hall, and the chapel in the quadrangle at Sewanee was built by my great-grandfather's brother. But nobody ever mentioned Wiggins to me for the whole 3 years I was there, for a lot of good reasons. So when I finished that first year, my Bishop of Louisiana, Gerald Jones, says to me, Ed, you want to go to do hospital work at Bellevue in New York City, that's fine, but I need you in New Orleans to visit all the institutions. And he said, because Jack Allen was chaplain at Tulane Newcomb, assistant at St. Andrew's, Church of 1,000 people, and institutional chaplain. He started this chaplaincy all over New Orleans. So he said, you come down, you live in my house, I'll be on vacation, and you take care of this old lady that I brought with me because she had nowhere to go. So you live there, and you get on the streetcar and buses in New Orleans, and you go visit across the river and out by Lake Pontchartrain. And I think home with old ladies that my mama, Mary, used to visit. I sort of a nice, private, non-profit Fink. I don't know about the Fink family, whatever else. And they gave this old folks home. So that was one of my calls. But I visited the city jail, and I learned some lessons at the city jail. And the VA hospitals out by Lake Pontchartrain, and the Fink home, and a bunch of other institutions. But I was happy doing it, and on a streetcar. And while I was on the streetcar, I was reading the great theologian William Temple. So it was hot, but I didn't care. I was just busy reading theology. So the bishop, before he leaves, says, Ed, I've been thinking that there's a clergyman here who just moved here from Texas, and his daughter's been off at school at All Saints in Vicksburg, and she doesn't know anybody, and she dated Senior Warden's son and sort of no good. She's a New Yorker, and she's a very lovely girl. I said, I want you to just call up and have a date with her. I said, Bishop, I don't want to date the PK, the preacher's kids, you know. My images of what that would be like were just awful. So, and apparently the bishop had said the same thing to Alex, to your mother, my wife, and she said, I don't want to date anybody in seminary. My dad's a priest, and all my life I've had to deal with it. So I said, well, just call up and have a blind date with him. I said, do I have to, Bishop? He said, yes, it's a godly admission. And the bishop, you have to do it. I said, yes, sir. So I called her up, and I thought, it can't be too bad. We'll go see Cary Grant and Deborah Carr and Catch a Thief or something.
Affair to Remember?
An Affair to Remember.
Yeah.
So I thought, it can't be too bad. So I called up, and we have a date. She lives at the foot of Bourbon Street, of all things, passing prostitutes and bars. My little black tie and gray suit. So I got to the door of the rectory, just one block on Esplanade, past Bourbon Street, continuation of Bourbon Street. And I knock on I ring the doorbell, and this lovely lady answers the door. And I said, I'm Ed Coleman. She said, I know, I'm Mrs. Parker, Father Parker's wife, and Alex knows you're coming, and she'll be down in a few minutes. They lived upstairs, and the church temporarily was downstairs.
St. Anna's.
St. Anna's. Before they built St. Anna's, it was in the living room.
Right.
So she was so nice. She took me upstairs, and I waited. She had decorated it, as Nana did, beautifully. And then I met Alex, met your mother, and I thought, she seems very nice. So we got on the streetcar, bus and streetcar, went Canal Street to the Sanger Theater, to the Lowe's Theater, and saw Unfair to Remember. And I was taking her back, didn't have a car, taking her back. Grumpy had a new Studebaker, a black Studebaker, but I didn't have a car. So we get on the street, on the bus, and in the street car to take her back home. And she said, you know, would you want to come in for a few minutes? Too late, a cup of coffee, but so I did, and we got to talking, and somehow before I left, I found myself holding her hand, and I thought this really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Then she told me she had an uncle that lived up in the Pocono. I know where Poconos were, and that he had an estate up there, and she and her mother were going to go up, and Grumpy was going to bachelor your grandpa, and she was going to go up there. But she said, you know, if you write me a letter, I'll write you back. She had this beautiful hand. Mine was ugly. I hated mine.
How old would she have been?
She was born in 33, and this was 51, so she was 18.
18.
When we married, she was 22.
22
years later.
Right.
And I finished college, so I was about 22. I almost had to wait to be ordained. I was too young to be ordained. So we had that date, and then we had, one day we went out to Lake Pontchartrain, rode in the Zephyr, went up and down the, what do you call it?
Roller coaster?
Roller coaster, yeah, that was exciting. No, I think we talked about it, we didn't actually go. And that could have been the second date. Then she goes off to New York, or Poconos.
Right. But not Manhattan.
And we rode, well, the Poconos, he left Manhattan and went to the Poconos, 80 miles away on the
Right.
interstate, yeah. Uncle Herb's farm.
Right.
But you remember the farm.
110 acres in the Poconos.
Created a lake and beautiful hills in the background.
I pulled many a bass out of that lake.
Grandmother bass is that big. We had so many bass we couldn't eat it all. We had to quit fishing. And my brother went up there to fish, and
And we
take
fished it out.
He was so mad.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
remember.
He said New Jersey has more fishermen than fish.
Yeah, right.
Anyhow, she went up to the Poconos, and we rode letters back. And she was going into her second year of college at All Saints Junior College in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And that would have been 1951, 52. So I think we probably corresponded, or, yeah, that was the end of my first year of seminary. I went back to Sewanee, and we were writing letters back and forth.
Did you ever see her?
Huh?
Did you see her?
I went down to All Saints,
Yeah.
which is an all-girls school, high
Right.
school and college.
Where is it?
And nothing like
Virginia?
being a male Sewanee graduate,
Mhm.
I mean student, coming to an all-female high school and college. And you know, you didn't lack for attention. I was
Doesn't-
sitting on top of the
Doesn't
Jeep.
suck.
It doesn't suck.
Oh, I remember that picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Where is that picture?
All Saints.
Yeah, and you're on the
And I'd
Jeep.
gone to camp in high school at that All Saints College,
That's in Vicksburg, Virginia?
Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
On the Mississippi. That's where the Confederate cemetery is.
How did she end up in Mississippi?
That's a long story. She wanted to go to Wellesley, or, you know, one of the big Eastern schools.
Right.
And she was smart enough to do it. But Grumpy said, you know, we can't afford that, so
Right.
you go into All Saints, which she
This
did.
is before LSU?
Yeah, she finished at All Saints. In her junior year, she transferred
To LSU.
to LSU. And she'd been on the campus about 6 weeks, poor, shy girl, and ran for co-ed vice president of a student body of 22,000 people,
And one?
and almost won.
Almost
in
one.
6 weeks. Her cause was the discrimination against the rich Spanish American boys. Parents had Orwells in Venezuela and Central America. Don't run out of tape. So we corresponded that second year, and then Bishop asked me that second year to go and start 2 churches in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I did the homework, I did the footwork, and I got one church started in Baton Rouge, and it developed from this little handful of people getting together on Sunday to a parish of about 600 people. And I was known as the founding father. But I went back to Suwanee. I was staying in a rectory in Baton Rouge, a clergyman's house. I was trying to cook bacon, and I poured the bacon juice into a jar, and it melted and burned the hell out of my hand.
Oh yeah, that hurts.
That hurt bad. I mean, it swelled up and everything.
Yeah.
But well, the other church sort of premature. It was Port Allen across the Mississippi River, and it just didn't work on the other side of the river. So I went back and we dated that summer, but she went up to the farm again, so the farm in Pennsylvania, the estate, whatever. So my third year at Suwanee, no, and she came up to Suwanee for a Suwanee weekend from All Saints. And I didn't know that, but that was the first time. It wasn't the first time she did that. She was Windsor.
Right. So
Yeah.
she'd been up there before?
Yeah.
Wow.
So unbeknownst to the world, she had been going with two of us,
Right.
and neither one knew about the other one. So it's my favorite cartoon from New Yorker. This guy, you see a picture of this guy, and he's spinning a bunch of things in the air, including his wife, and she said, "What is the phrase she used? I told you, Frederick, I will not be manipulated." Have you seen it?
Nah, that's funny.
Anyhow, we dated, and then in my senior year, and she came up to Suwanee, had a great time. It snowed one night, so we got snowed into the seminary, and we had to stay there until dawn. And then the snow was all over. We got home at dawn, and the seminary professor's wife, Mrs. Myers, we were terrified. She'd think the worst about this co-ed being out all night long.
Mhm.
She said, "Oh, Alex, I know it's such a terrible night. Come in and have a cup of coffee." She was a veteran of many Suwanee weekends. So we're pinned. She became a sweetheart at Sigma Chi. My junior year, I joined at LSU. We're pinned, and for me, that was nobody on the mountain. That was like being engaged, almost, not really. But it turns out that the guy I was having breakfast and dinner with, she was dating him too. And neither one of us knew about the other. So I found out, and so I just broke it off.
Right.
That was the end of that.
Smart.
Until I went to New Orleans, and she showed up. He'd gone back north again. His mother had sent him to the University of the South because she was divorced, front page of the New York Times. And she didn't want him to be hassled because the mother's divorced. So she sent him to this little southern school, Suwanee. And a very attractive guy. Family were, what we'd say today, multimillionaire.
Who were they? They were the Prices?
Yeah.
Who were they involved
Windsor
with?
Morris Price, and Morris is an old New York Gouverneur Morris.
So they weren't associated with any company or anything?
They owned it.
Which company though?
It's the Morris Machine Works in Baldwinsville, New York,
Okay.
which retools two-story centrifugal pumps from New York City.
Right.
You know that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was rough competition. But he went back home and took over the family business, and he ends up marrying someone who looks just like your mother. That was so funny. You met? Now you meet her?
He wasn't a doctor?
No, the doctor part is, I talked to the camp nurse in Louisiana, the summer camp, and I was on the staff. His daughter was the lifeguard, Dr. Culpepper, and the wife was the nurse at the camp in the summer camp. And
That's
the
the girl
daughter
you-
was the lifeguard, and I took all my discipline to swim up and down the pool without looking at her.
Now, what was her name? What Culpepper?
She's Mimi.
Mimi Culpepper.
Mimi Culpepper. She married the daughter of a priest. Believe that?
She married the
The son of
son
a
of a
priest.
priest, right.
She married the son of a priest from Nantucket. Small world.
Jeez.
So
you
we go to
started dating
Nantucket.
her.
We go to Nantucket and find out the son is married to Mimi. I called her just to say hi, and because I kind of stood her up after that first day.
Good call.
No, she wouldn't. She didn't want to have anything. I never explained what happened. She didn't. Ed Coleman, she didn't have pleasant memories at all.
Right.
She went back to Sophie Newcomb, and I went back to Sylvania. But I was going to go. My uncle owned the Ramsey Park Hotel, and I was going to go up there and see her because the letters were getting sort of scarce.
Yeah.
She was there at Cornell Medical School dating pre-medical students.
But not Windsor.
Not Windsor. No, Windsor's back somewhere. He's
and
in
Windsor
Baldwin
was never a
family.
doctor.
No, the doctor part is Dr. Culpepper's daughter.
Okay, gotcha. That was
And I
good.
said to her, I'm going to go up and see her and find out what's going on.
Right.
And she said, don't do that. She said, that's the worst thing you can do. I said, what do you do? She said, start dating. I
Who said that?
Mimi's
Culpepper.
mother
Right.
was the camp nurse.
Good for her.
And
Good
so I
call.
said, yeah, and your daughter? No, she said, my daughter's too young. I don't.
But you dated her daughter.
I did. And
Right.
she was very attractive. Your mother called long distance, had the flu. And she called me at midnight.
And she
I
was
went-
sick?
And then 1, and then 2.
You
She
say
got
she-
me at 4 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Where have you been? I said, I've been out with Mimi and we just had a ball.
Ah.
And she flew home the next day. I learned my
Fist
lesson.
bump.
I learned my lesson. But it was Mimi's mother that
Told you to do it?
saved my marriage.
That's right.
Cost my marriage.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the name of that game.
All right, that's the end of that story.